Welcome to the music video for Blow by Kesha, a presentation. Blow by Kesha is a song with more cultural impact than the fire at Notre Dame, and a music video that has taken up real estate in my brain for literally half of my existence since its release in 2011, when I was 11. The song itself is nothing short of a party anthem. It's about how much fun partying at the club is. It's kind of the platonic ideal of hyperpop dance music, and it did absolute numbers at all the parties I went to as a middle school cheerleader. The music video? The premise for the music video was to make something outrageous and random. Since this is all random and no logic or reason went to the premise, there's no way to argue about what the creator of the music video was trying to convey with the included imagery, or how he intended the audience to receive any certain message. So bear in mind, I'm deconstructing a narrative that doesn't exist in the first place. It's a definition of it's not that deep, except I'm gonna try to attempt to explain why it is that deep. AKA, I don't care that you weren't trying to send any messages. You did, and here's what they are. I'm gonna break this up topic by topic as it relates to D2L sections I've drawn readings from. Number 1, making the normal feel strange.
The anthropologist has become so familiar with the diversity of ways in which different peoples behave in similar situations that he is not apt to be surprised by even the most exotic customs. In fact, if all of the logically possible combinations of behavior have not been found somewhere in the world, he is apt to suspect that they must be present in some yet undescribed tribe. In this light, the magical beliefs and practices of the music video for Blow by Kesha present such unusual aspects that it seems desirable to describe it as an example of the extremes to which human behavior can go.
The LOLXD so random framework/internet culture takes everyday things and pushes them to the extreme with the sole intent of not making sense. But instead of outside analysis using language that exotifies the behaviors exhibited by the XD random, making it so strange, it's how XD random insiders of typical society take conventional language and behaviors and apply them with no regard for context or meaning that it becomes so polarizing. It's less intentional than being absurd, which is calculated nonsensical reactions and responses as it pertains to a specific circumstance or scenario. LOLXD so random behavior is repeatedly shoehorning memified words and behaviors that are funny and quirky into their everyday conversations and actions regardless of context. This puts a weird wrench into the daily routine of a normie, potentially disturbing them as it goes against every normal convention of conversation and behavior. It's weird for the sake of being weird, instead of weird as a reaction to the normal. I would say the content of Blow's music video shows a balance of both LOXD so random and absurdist practices. It being absurd that there are only 2 human people in a club populated with dozens of unicorn people, and random via the rubber horse masks that were all the rage and the epitome of epic random comedy in the 2011 internet sphere. The rainbows, the dialogues, and the creation of the video itself is very much LOXD so random. Weird for just funsies and doesn't make sense, cause why not? The transition between plot Kesha and music video Kesha is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, I want to take a moment to talk about Kesha herself and her persona. Kesha's image is of a rowdy, wild girl who likes to party and dance and drink and dress up in crazy clothes and mess around with boys, and it's a really good example of the Aboriginal political concept of autonomous selfhood, as described by Morgan Brigg and Mary Graham. Becoming a person requires asserting one's autonomy, including by refusing the obligations and requests made Becoming a person requires asserting one's autonomy, including by refusing the obligations and requests made on the self by kin and country. Kesha is kind of the epitome of a person. She constantly asserts her agency with her give no fucks, party hard outlook and lifestyle. Despite the system that calls her trashy and a whore for prioritizing having fun, she is an icon for misfits and advocates for people who don't fit with the status quo. We can see in the music video that in the music video Kesha segments where she is just standing and singing in a cool outfit and posing for the camera, the camera lighting and framing and editing is really harsh and grating. A lot of lens flares that cover up different parts of the screens and jittery jump cuts between close-ups of Kesha's face and her just standing there wiggling and making sexy gestures. It's like she's saying she's herself, she's a lot, and she's not gonna apologize about it. She loves to party, she doesn't care what you think, she's not gonna change, and in her own words, gifts and exchange. The I don't give a fuck attitude comes with a healthy dose of hedonism and excess. This is no surprise, as club bangers are usually extremely shallow in terms of substance and just exist to make you want to dance, and Blow is exactly the same. But if I wanted to be picky, I could acknowledge the presence of selfishness and entitlement there about getting into the club for free because of your status, and the expectation that people will do what you want just because you tell them to. But nightclubs are a world foreign to me, and I don't know party culture, so I'm not going to try to critique music video Kesha. The plot Kesha character, however, is a fancy person, and I don't feel bad about making fun of them at all. The regular human man sends Kesha the smallest triangular Triscuit topped with an even smaller triangle of what we will discover is Munster cheese, and she eats it in a way that could allude to drug use, which, what do I know? Anyway, let's say this is a gift, and according to Robin Wall Kimmer, when given a gift, if our first response is gratitude, then our second is reciprocity, to give a gift in return. That reciprocity doesn't come, or maybe it does, depending on how you look at it. To be clear, she does kill the regular human man and mount his head on her wall, but what if the nanocracker wasn't just a little snacky, but a token, an invitation to facilitate the exchange of a gunfight? After all, once Plot Kesha and regular human man make eye contact, it's immediately clear that they know exactly what happens next as they pursue each other from across the nightclub, brimming with probably sexual tension or just pure hunger, as their intense glaring never falters. The snack was a gift in the form of an invitation from the regular human man, and Kesha reciprocated by accepting the gift, which is to say, the proposition. Instead of quoting, I'm just going to take from Emily Martin's article about the egg and the sperm and use the imagery and ideas to describe Plot Kesha and regular human man. So right away, it's easy to identify regular human man as the sperm in this relationship, as he takes on the active role of bringing something to Plot Kesha, who in this instance is the egg, and the way she ate the cracker kind of exactly describes the way fertilization actually happens, according to how I read it in Emily Martin's article. Sperm gets to egg. Egg secures sperm. Egg pulls sperm in through outer membrane. Egg breaks down the sperm into genetic material with a digestive enzyme. Then her role as egg abruptly ends, and she begins to behave more like how scientists describe sperm as behaving, putting her and the human man on a level playing field, becoming equals. They're laser focused as they cross the sea of unicorns to meet each other, just like how scientists describe the sperm's heroic active nature. This is as far as I can take that illusion, because for the rest of the time, they just behave like people. There's other stuff to talk about, though, like how predatory behavior and instinct is present in sexuality, thrill of the chase and whatever. So it's important, I think, that Kesha is never exclusively seen as prey. She is an equal to regular human man up until the end. So there's this ambiguity of who will take down who. This back and forth effort to one-up each other consists of heavily gendered power moves that each party takes on their way to each other. Kesha goes and makes out with this mafia-ass looking unicorn with an eye patch, a gold tooth, and a nose ring, purposefully looking at the human man while she does so. Human man's response is to rip both sleeves off his blazer, then the rest of it as well. What Kesha did signifies that she can have whoever she wants, she is the judge, jury, and executioner, and by kissing the unicorn, she provokes the traditionally masculine ideal of the chase, igniting the sense of competition within the human man, Kesha being the prize. And human man's reaction capitalizes on the traditionally masculine desirable trait of vigor, establishing himself as the superior mate with a random outburst of strength. She's approached the mafia-looking unicorn and started making out with him, clearly to provoke a reaction out of the regular human man. There he goes. He's angry and very strong and masculine. Her move is to kind of like wiggle a little bit. When he goes full like, I'm a man, hip thrust, oh, snap. Oh, but what's this? She's ripped out her bra. Insane. Tossing it haplessly into the crowd. And he's pulled out his bra now, throwing it to the ground. I have no other commentary here, but I've decided that this is an LGBT win, and I will not be elaborating. Part 5. Violence, intersectionality, race indifference. Just a lot. Really? Chris Mars Piliero, the guy who directed the music video, said this about it. I had this idea running in my head with just the idea of unicorns. If I massacred unicorns, they could bleed rainbows. I'm a fan of violence, and I'm always trying to find a way to make it okay. Uh-oh! Freaking leave it to a straight white upper class man to shoot off at the mouth about how much he loves violence. Sure, it's pretty girl boss that Kesha wins and mounts Vanderbeek's head on her wall. Oh, by the way, Vanderbeek, he's like an actual actor. I thought he was just like a random human man until I looked at the wiki for this music video and found out like he's been in stuff and he's like an actor. I thought he was just another boring Hollywood attractive looking white guy. So Kesha wins the gunfight, but it's presented as like a femme fatale thing and like heavily sexualized, I think. Very nice to see women not being the victim of violence, but the way it's conveyed in the music video seems really fetishistic. Let's look at music video Kesha. Aside from looking absolutely badass and epic with the blinged out bodysuit and tassels, her glittery high heels have guns on them, and then she has an actual literal just gun holster on her with a gun in it. And during the chorus, the parts where she says blow, music video Kesha's sexy camera looks and wiggles incorporate more and more finger guns, holding them to her head, putting them near her mouth, trailing them towards her crotch, pointing them at herself. I'm not insane for calling this phallic imagery, right? Like, men find women attractive when they're holding guns because gun is penis. And someone who really loves violence and wants violence to be okay with it maybe would really have a field day making a video where there are a lot of guns and a lot of gun imagery and a lot of shooting people and violence. Yeah, someone like that might love to produce a music video like that. Is this slander? No! Maybe. Then during the gunfight, plot Kesha is dual-wielding laser guns, and as they're doing action movie hero shit, Kesha does a little callback to Vanderbeek's little hip thrusty dance and puts the pistols at her hips and starts using the thrusting motion to shoot the bullets. But none of the shots that are fired from that go anywhere near Vanderbeek. They go towards a group of unicorns, and not one shot misses. The unicorns are the most important part of this music video to me in terms of analysis. Like Piliero said, he wanted violence to be okay, so he made unicorn people who bleed rainbows. Beings that are clearly sentient and intelligent. They have identical behavior and mannerisms to human people, and they dress like human people. So I think it's obvious to believe that we should perceive them as people, or at least that they have similar status and privileges to human people. After I rewatched this music video for the first time in 11 years, I noticed the amount of collateral the gunfight had, and how supersonically fast Kesha and Vanderbeek reached to use a unicorn person as a meat shield, without an ounce of hesitation. Lounge or club that they're at becomes a laser light show of rainbows, gushing blood from these unicorn people as they are massacred in a confrontation taking place between two human people. I don't think a single unicorn person makes it out of there alive. So I rewatched it and paid more attention to the unicorn people throughout the music video. And these are my observations. This establishment is likely owned and operated by and for unicorn people, judging by the lack of diversity in its staff and clientele, and it's not too far-fetched to assume that there is a whole unicorn people society that either takes place in or around human people society. The unicorn couple from the beginning, listening to Kesha ramble, looked uncomfortable and awkward, giving each other side glances like they were unsure of what to do, but they felt like they had to indulge her. Unicorn people are expected to submit to human people without resistance or retaliation. We can see this as music video Kesha gropes, rubs on, and licks the unicorn butlers by the archway, and how they stay perfectly still through being sexually assaulted, and plot Kesha's assault on the mafioso unicorn person, grabbing him and kissing him without consent, using him as a tool to make another human person jealous, almost like something that certain people in our world go through that has historically resulted in violence being inflicted on the victim of assault based on what another type of person claims when it turns out different than what they wanted. It's apparent that unicorn people are treated as second-class citizens and fundamentally unhumanized. Vanderbeek shoves through the crowds of unicorn people without a second thought, and he casually pickpockets one's property, uses it, and throws it to the ground. The human people barely make eye contact with the unicorn people, let alone acknowledge their existence in their space. Haha, unicorns, rainbow, blood, funny, epic? You've created a scenario where two human people, characters in the music video that you, the director, and the audience can relate to as human people, socialize in a space majorly for a different kind of person, populated by dozens of that type of person, co-opt the whole establishment, running amok with no respect for the people or their space. They are allowed to assault and burgle them, and it results in the two human people causing such a big scene that every single person in the building ends up and the result is the two outsider human people causing a big... And results in the outsider human people causing and results in the outsider human people causing a scene so big that it results with every single person in the building ending up dead. Only one of them, a human person? This really feels like systemic violence against a minority group. The attitude the human people displayed is similar to the disregard the cop who dropped the bomb on the Move house had for his actions. What we did that day never bothered me. I went up in that helicopter with the truest intentions of getting those people out unharmed. It didn't happen that way, but it wasn't our fault. I can live with that. Plot Kesha is seen at the end of the music video laughing with the group of unicorn people with Vanderbeek's stuffed head mounted on the wall, informing us that everything we've just seen was Kesha explaining the story of how she obtained her wall ornament trophy to the group of unicorn people, and now they're having a good old laugh about it. Can't help but wonder if she chose to mention all the other casualties she caused in order to take that trophy. If they knew how many unicorn people were slaughtered in the crossfire, it's actually legitimately impossible for the two human people to have killed that many unicorn people without a level of intent. Maybe she loved seeing those rainbows. In conclusion, I have no idea if this meets the project criteria, but it meets the criteria of the project that I wanted to make, which doesn't matter in the grand scheme of D2L, but I sincerely got a lot out of applying critical theory and anthropological approaches to viewing the music video for Blow by Kesha. It forced me to think in ways I didn't think I'd ever have to, and that was really fulfilling. I hope you like this video as much as I liked making it, even if you have to give me a bad grade because I used an artistic interpretation of your instructions and rubric and made a think piece instead of an academic presentation. Oops. Oh well. Thank you for everything, Professor. The end.
And apologize to the president. And that's the story of how I was elected to the parliament of Uzbekistan.
Dance. We are taking over. Get used to it.
Okay. Well. If it isn't James Vanderdouche.
I don't appreciate you slander-beaking my name, Cat $. Huh.
Thank you for the snack. It was quite delicious.
My pleasure.
Was that Munster cheese tickling my taste buds?
Of course. Munster is like edible lactose gold.
Agreed. Shall we dance?
Let's.